Hello and welcome back to Space Engineers. In today's video, we're looking at another small block transportation ship that, well, as the creator put, is basically a flying death trap that, well, due to its unreliability, could lead to some unfortunate scenarios. So this is called the TCU Beaver, which is this lovely thing sitting right behind me. So this features one rear-facing rocket launcher, we then got an autocannon on top, we've got dual cockpits, one to drive it around, one to control the turrets, we've got two doors on both sides that both have a ramp in front of it that seals the people inside, make sure they cannot escape when things go horribly wrong, and it's got both hydrogen and atmospheric thrusters. So pressing F10 to find this in spawn menu, the Beaver is 1054 small blocks, using one hell of a lot of the DLC packs. Right up here you can see that it's basically a glorified coffin, and that due to its questionable stability when flying, the lack of an airlock, and little to no reverse thrust, contributes to it to having a silly mortality rate, which is, well, always good stuff in Space Engineers. So we're going to give this thing a thumbs up, move around towards the very front, have a quick look around the outside, then a quick tour of the interior, which will be very quick because it does have a very teeny tiny one, although it does have quite a lot going on with it. We'll go and test out and see just how well this thing handles, or just how poorly this thing handles. So my character now disappear, off he goes, and this is what we get at the very front for the TCU Beaver. That's of course a bunch of lovely brown, grey and white steel blocks, with of course the white steel blocks representing the teeth of the Beaver. Moving up slightly, we then got some barred window blocks, where right behind there is our cab cockpit with a transparent LCD screen telling us the horizon and of course our speed that we're moving. Above it we then got our small beacon to make sure we can always find this thing. They're moving slightly down, and the reason why it's wobbling around and slowly moving off into the distance is because we're on pistons, on hinges, then onto some steel plates. There are no magnetic plates on this, so you could always attach them onto the bottom of that if you want it to be a bit more stable and not wander off by itself. That's entirely up to you if you want to do that. Pulley wave moving onto the side, says a clear view of the cab cockpit on the top, and this is our doorway, which is the same on the opposite side, to get inside, and we'll have your passengers sit down and brace for their adventure. We've got a button that we can see clearly on the top left of the doorway, but when we press that, then this ramp will fall all the way down. It doesn't come and touch the ground, so you will need to hop up onto that, maybe even use your jetpack to do it. Yes, I'll just allow you to get up and inside. Then once they're inside, you seal them in. Now they're trapped inside. Moving slightly along here, here's our connector to dock this thing up, and here's a clear view of what's going on with both our ramp on the top right, then of course our legs down the bottom, where we've got hinges onto pistons, onto hinges, and that's our landing leg. If we were to move across over to this section, we'll see a bunch of hydrogen thrusters help move this thing around. Then pulling away there, we'll see an autocannon on top, we'll see a couple of glass window blocks right in the very middle, which is where your secondary cockpit is sitting. That's going to be to control both that turret on the top, and the rocket launcher turret that sits right at the very back here. We've of course got two large hydrogen thrusters to boost us around, which should give us a nice bit of speed, and they've been housed up by some armoured panels, just to make them look all nice and neat. Here to move all the way up, look down, here we go, got some small hydrogen thrusters, there's the top of our autocannon turret. There's our windows here inside, but we'll get a bit closer down to there, so we can just about make out our seat right there. We've got a programmable block, and a few more bits and bobs that we'll see in a bit more detail when we go around on foot. Pulling away from that, moving towards the very front of the thing, there's an antenna, there's some columns, there's some neon tubes, and there's the cab cockpit at the very front. If we were to move all the way down underneath this thing, here we go, down to the very bottom, that's all we can see. So we've got some hydrogen thrusters there, and a couple atmospherics to keep you off the ground while on a planet. And I think that's about it for the outside of the TCU Beaver, and it's great with how it's all been set up. It's a very short, very compact ship that, well, from the outside of it, you can see a very clear lack of thrusters slow this thing down, so you should, if you do get into a bit of a pickle when slowing down, say going towards your base or a station, and you don't want to crash into it, say if it doesn't have a safe zone, you can always do a 180 to stop yourself a bit quicker, but well, you can always automate that with a script if that's what you want. But now what I'm going to do is just grab on my character, because it's time to go inside. So here he is, right here. We're just going to walk all the way up to this, and hit that button at the top there. It's a little bit awkward to grab from the ground, in fact I keep missing it. There we go. Now that's going to come all the way down, not to the ground like I said. We will need to hop up to actually get onto it. There we go. With that, we now just jump onto there. Now on the inside, open up the doorway. Now we just press that, I'll come all the way back up, close the door, and this is what we're greeted with. So there's a lot going on with this inside here. So we've got seats around the outside, we've got weapon containers, we've got air vents, we've then got a button, which is called Go Time, but take a look at that a bit later on. An LCD screen that says, TCU thanks you for your sacrifice. Down to there is a rotating light, and you've got some fake ladders made out of some unfinished lights that go all the way up to our secondary cockpit to control the guns at the top and the back. So here's the autocannon, and then there's the rocket launcher at the very back of this thing. You want to hop out of this and turn around and face towards the front, and then got a couple more seats for your passengers to sit on. There's a little access panel to open up and play around with. They've got some more fake steps, come all the way up to the back of our cab cockpit, get inside and properly drive this thing around. We can also see a couple of gyroscopes on the left and right hand side, so we actually have good control over this thing. We've got some lovely orange lights, make sure it's not too dark in here, and what does make quite a peaceful atmosphere for the inevitable dangerous journey. And with that, what I think I'm going to do now is just come across to this button, right click it so you can actually see what's going on here. And you can see we then got our automated time block, where if it's to say come into something that actually has access to the rest of the ship, find that same time block, come to set up actions, and then see we've got our lights. Now our rotating lights, they'll then go and activate. Pressing that, there we go, our orange lights turn off, our red light spins around. And we just press that one more time to well make sure it goes back to a peaceful atmosphere to not give your passengers a heart attack. Anyway, turning around, getting up into that cab cockpit, first person view, this is all we can see. So we do have some LCD screens telling us what's going on with the ship, and of course another LCD screen telling us a thank you for your sacrifice as a pilot. Looking up, can't really see too much. So here we come to third person view to go through the controls, and yes, we are slowly sliding down this little hill. We should stop when we come to the bottom there, hopefully not damaging anything. That tree should slow us down a little bit, yes it will. And well, for the controls, number one's going to be for our hinges, for our landing legs, pull them all the way up. We're not going to be able to do that until we press number 2, which would be then to pull our pistons all the way back. So pressing that, there we go, pressing number 1, and they come all the way back up and neatly tuck away. Number 3 is for your emergency lights, which are what we went through just a second ago. They'll turn on the rotating red light and turn off the orange ones. Number 4, 5, and 6 for your thrusters all around the ship to turn them on and off. There's all of our hydrogen thrusters. Of course, we can press number 6 to turn them all off. Pressing 4 again, actually lifting this off the ground. Number 7, 8, and 9 is for your ramp on the side there, where 7 and 8 is going to be to manually open left and right. So we can press them and choose which side we want to open up. Number 9 is then for a master toggle to open them both up, or to close them both up, depending on what you need. Over to tab number 2, we then got nothing else, so it's time to drive this thing around to see how bad this ship actually is. So reline the camera like so, moving forwards, here we go. We've got some nice speed thanks to those large hydrogen thrusters at the back there. But once we get to 100 meters per second, I'll then let go. Here we are, and this is the speed we come to a stop. So not too bad at the end of the day, but like I said, you can always do 180 if you do want to stop this a bit quicker. But you are very meaty on the turning, but you may want to add on maybe an extra gyroscope or 2 to make it turn a lot quicker. Moving left, and moving right, we are very slow compared to forwards and backwards. Moving up, we've got a nice bit of speed, and then moving down is going to be helped by gravity, which feels faster than everything else that should be expected on a planet. As for gyroscope controls, as you saw there, we've got a nice bit of control over this, but it's surprisingly heavy. This thing feels like a massive battleship when we're trying to move this thing around. So let's say one of the biggest ships I've showcased on this channel, the Albatross right here, this is a fairly big ship, where, well, it feels very familiar to driving that ship around. But as for that, that's pretty much it for what this ship has to offer, and certainly not a death trap the creator stated it was on the workshop page. But now, all that's left to do, of course, is to slam this into the ground to see how it crumples. And yes, if you are interested in Skybox I'm currently using, there will be a link to it in the description below. Looks fantastic from a planet, especially when you use a mod that removes the atmospheric effects. So if you sit on Pertam, you can very clearly view it. On the Earth-like planet like I am right now, you can just about make it out. It does look very, very nice. Anyway, here we come, over the ice patch. Now we could just tilt straight down, go towards our impending doom. So here we go, all the way down at 104 meters per second. In about 5 seconds, we're now going to slam into it, see how it crumbles. So here we go in 3, 2, 1, and there we go. That didn't seem too bad. And we can just about move this thing around, although not really. It seems like we are pretty much intact in terms of what we've got on this ship. But I can't reverse this thing up. Can't even move this left and right. It seems to be very well wedged into the ground. And there we go, I managed to get it loose. And there we go. Looking around at the very front, we can see there some of the passengers have had a very bad time there. But it looks like we can still drive this thing around in all directions. Yes, we can. And well, we can have at least 2 seats of people to take on our adventure. But as for that, that's pretty much it for the TCU Beaver. It's a lovely little ship to use in your world. You do want to have something short and compact to, well, transport your friends from one place to another, and maybe even use it in survival mode for a light bit of combat. There'll be a link to it in the description below to download and play around with yourself. Highly recommend you do. I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.